She told me he was better. That was the word she chose. Better? Not more compassionate. Not more devoted. Simply better. A word so vague yet so sharp it tore through everything I believed we were. And she didn't say it in anger or in a moment of passion. No, her tone was soft, steady, as though she practiced those lines many times before. We were seated in the tiny cafe where we had shared our very first date. I had thought she brought me there for sentimental reasons, maybe to relive a memory or spark some small, hopeful gesture. But no, she had come to sever ties, to let me know I no longer measured up. Not anymore. I never intended for this to happen, she murmured, absently stirring her spoon through her coffee. But it did. I answered quietly, my voice low and steady. She gave a small nod. He makes me feel alive. And that was it, alive. As though the past 2 years hadn't been spent with me, giving her every ounce of my love, trying to make her feel cherished, safe, understood. I remember walking out of that cafe like I was trapped inside a dream I couldn't escape. My legs carried me forward, my heart splintering with each step, her words still ringing in my ears. He's better. Better in what way? Was he wealthier? Taller? More entertaining? I never asked. Deep down, I didn't want to know. Perhaps I feared hearing the truth. Or worse, that she might actually be right. She moved on with astonishing speed. Soon enough, photos of them began appearing online. Him with his arm wrapped around her waist, her face glowing in a way I'd never seen before. It felt like the cruelest joke, as if I'd been nothing more than a stepping stone towards something brighter, something shinier. I won't lie, it broke me. I couldn't bring myself to eat properly for weeks. My friends did their best to pull me from the abyss, invited me out for drinks, movie nights, anything to keep me from drowning in the endless tide of what-ifs. But every time I returned home, the silence was unbearable. It greeted me like a familiar ghost, one that wore her perfume and still seemed to sleep on her side of the bed. She never reached out again. Not a single text. Not even a simple birthday message. And over time, I stopped waiting for one. Eventually, I began focusing on myself, not in the hopes of winning her back, not because I thought she might regret leaving, but because I needed to feel whole again. For me, I started going to gym regularly, took a few trips here and there, and even picked up photography as a new hobby. Slowly, I stopped scrolling through her social media, eventually blocking all her updates entirely. I told myself that if she had found happiness, I should let her live it without interference. It wasn't simple. Healing rarely is. But bit by bit, it helped. I discovered comfort in the little things. The first sip of coffee in the morning, wandering alone on quiet trails, the spontaneous laughter of strangers passing by. I learned to enjoy my own company, something I hadn't realized I'd lost while trying to be everything for someone else. Then, almost exactly a year later, her message appeared on my phone. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for what felt like forever. My first reaction was to ignore it. I owed her nothing. But curiosity, that familiar, troublesome feeling, won out. We met again in the same cafe, coming full circle. This time, she entered slowly, without the confident stride I once remembered. Instead, she looked hesitant, guarded. Her eyes were weary, and her smile trembled like a fragile glass. "Thanks for seeing me," she said softly. I nodded but said nothing. "I'm not here to justify myself," she added, nervously swirling her tea. I need to say this again. I waited. I thought he was better. Her voice cracked. But he wasn't, not even close. I kept my gaze steady, unreadable. He made me feel alive, like everything was this rush. But excitement doesn't last. What was left wasn't love. It was chaos. He cheated, lied. And by the time I finally understood what I'd given up, you were already gone. She reached out across the table, but I didn't respond. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I hurt you. I know I don't deserve another chance. I was selfish, but I miss you every single day. And if there's even the tiniest part of you that still feels something for me, please." Her voice broke, tears spilling over. I thought I might feel triumph or satisfaction. After all, she'd left me shattered. But instead, I felt calm, like the storm had passed, and I was breathing fresh air above the clouds. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I looked at her. Truly looked at the woman who once called me her whole world, who left me chasing a fleeting thrill, and now stood before me begging for a chance she had destroyed. I'm not angry anymore, I said at last, but I'm not the same person you walked away from, I added. She nodded, tears running freely. I loved you, I said quietly. God, I really did. And for a long time, I hope you'd come back, apologize, admit you'd made a mistake. But now that you're here, I've realized something. What? She asked, voice trembling. I'm okay without you. She hid her face, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I'm glad you found your truth, I said softly. But I don't want the ring. I don't want the maybe. The hope that maybe this time, things will be different. What I want is peace. And I have that now. We sat in silence. Not the painful kind. Not awkward. Just peaceful quiet. Slowly, she stood, wiped her tears away, and said, I wish you the best. You too, I replied. She left without glancing back. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't watch her walk away. I finished my coffee, stepped outside, and breathed deeply, tasting freedom like it was brand new. She said he was better. But a year later, she came back in tears.